Whether or not they forgive you is not your problem. It's not something that you can control. You offer your amends, they're going to accept them or they're not. They're going to forgive you or they're not. Hi, everybody. It's Jenna from StarveTheDemon. Tonight, we're going to work on step 9 out of Narcotics Anonymous. It works how and why. And of course, the basic text. We talked about step 8 last week, where you make your list of everybody that you have harmed and become willing to make amends. Step 9 is where you really use your sponsor as a sounding board and decide how you're going to make your amends. People make amends in a lot of different ways. The most important thing I think to remember is that making amends is not saying that we're sorry. They've heard, I'm sorry. How many times have we said, I'm sorry? Making amends is about repairing relationships, righting wrongs so you can move forward without shame and guilt. Okay, so we are in Narcotics Anonymous, basic text, page 40, step 9. We made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. And that's an important part. We don't make amends just to make ourselves feel better. You're going to want to talk to your sponsor about who you make direct amends to and who you make living amends with and how you make those amends. Sometimes it needs to be a face-to-face conversation. Sometimes a phone call or a text or a letter or not at all. Don't feel like you have to call an abuser to say, I'm so sorry because of that time I said that thing. No, you don't. You might have somebody in your life, especially you women out there. You might have played a part in some stuff, but for you to contact certain people might be dangerous. Let's say, for instance, that you were in a really bad situation in your life and there was a person that's on your doorstep for some really good reasons. And there's something in there that you did or said that you shouldn't have done or whatever. That's showing up on your amends. Okay. Well, if this is not a person that you need to repair this relationship with, it is not necessary for you to make direct amends. It says we make direct amends except when that would harm them or others. That includes yourself. And I don't mean if you're going to be embarrassed, if you are going to be in some kind of danger, physical, psychological, emotional danger, if it is not safe for you to contact this person or to have this person know where you are, how to contact you, then don't. Absolutely do not make living amends. Live your life in such a way that you are not in a situation where whatever happened can happen. And I feel like I don't have to spell that out too much. If you know, you know. This step should not be avoided. If we do, we are reserving a place in our program for relapse. Pride, fear, and procrastination often seem an impossible barrier. They stand in the way of progress and growth. We're going to talk about all those things. The important thing is to take action and to be ready to accept the reactions of those persons we have harmed. We make amends to the best of our ability. An excellent point. Whether or not they forgive you is not your problem. And I don't mean it's not your problem as in I don't care if they do or they don't. It's not your problem as in it's not something that you can control. It's not something that you can demand. You offer your amends. They're going to accept them or they're not. They're going to forgive you or they're not. Before we're done, I'm going to tell you the speech. I'm going to tell you exactly what to say to somebody when you're making direct amends. Now, let's see what the book has to say. Timing is an essential part of this step. We should make amends when the opportunity presents itself, except when to do so will cause harm. Sometimes we cannot actually make the amends. It is neither possible nor practical. In some cases, amends may be beyond our means. We find that willingness can serve in the place of action where we are unable to contact the person that we have harmed. However, we should never fail to contact anyone because of embarrassment, fear, or procrastination. I was 45 when I was doing this. That's decades of people. I tried everything that I could try, and I just could not get a hold of everybody. However, willingness to make those amends and have those conversations, that I have. If I run into somebody that I was not able to get a hold of and I know that I owe them an amends, I'm going to have that conversation if it's practical and possible. I might be trying to make an amends for something I did with somebody and they don't want anybody to know. If they're standing there with their significant other or their children or their mom or their boss and I come up talking about, oh, hey, remember that time we blah, 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 blah. That's not helping them. Okay. You know what I'm talking about. We want to be free of our guilt, but we don't wish to do so at the expense of anyone else. We might run the risk of involving a third person or some companion from our using days who does not wish to be exposed. We do not have the right or the need to endanger another person. It is often necessary to take guidance from others in these matters. It touches on infidelity. In your current relationship, in a previous relationship, maybe you were unfaithful. That's a really touchy thing. Ask yourself, what is the benefit of telling your significant other, I did this thing? Let's say, for argument's sake, that you didn't have an affair, right? You didn't have an ongoing relationship with somebody else. You had a one night stand. Drugs and alcohol, being high, being drunk does not excuse poor behavior, but it can explain it. We do things in blackouts. We do things when we're high that we would not normally do. Our inhibitions get lowered. We're not thinking straight and we do stupid things. There's no diseases involved. There's no children involved. There's no chick banging on the door. It happened. It was however long ago it was. Your significant other doesn't know about it. But if the only benefit that's going to come out of that conversation is you feeling better and it's going to destroy the person that you're telling it to, and it's going to destroy your relationship, your children, your entire future. Maybe it's your ex-wife, old girlfriend, and you're feeling guilty. I should go and tell her that I slept with her sister. Or you slept with somebody and you feel like you owe their significant other an amends. Hey, listen, 2 summers ago at the barbecue, me and Janie got together while you was out boating. You going to destroy that marriage so you could feel better? Really, really want to think about that. Again, I'm talking about it was a one-time thing. If you're a serial philanderer, if you've had long-term affairs, if you just stay cheating on people, I got my opinion about that. But I'm not here to judge you. Talk to your sponsor, pray about it, and decide if a direct amends is truly the best option because you do not want your confession to drag other people into your stuff. If the person you had a one night stand with and now they're happily married, they're living their best life, and you're going to come in there and start a fire that doesn't need to be lit. That's all I'm saying. We recommend turning our legal problems over to lawyers and our financial or medical problems to professionals. Part of learning how to live successfully is learning when we need help and accepting the help that's there. In some old relationships, an unresolved conflict may still exist. We do our part to resolve old conflicts by making our amends. We want to step away from further antagonisms and ongoing resentments. In many instances, we can only go to the person and humbly ask for understanding of past wrongs. Sometimes this will be a joyous occasion when old friends or relatives prove willing to let go of their bitterness. Contacting someone who is still hurting from the burn of our misdeeds can be dangerous. Indirect amends may be necessary where direct ones would be unsafe or endanger other people. We make our amends to the best of our ability. We try to remember that when we make amends, we are doing it for ourselves. Instead of feeling guilty and remorseful, we feel relieved about our past. It is for me because when I tell you I got nothing to hide, nobody to hide it from, that is the most freeing, wonderful feeling. We accept that it was our actions that caused our negative attitude. Step 9 helps us with our guilt and helps others with their anger. Sometimes the only amend we can make is to stay clean. We owe it to ourselves and to our loved ones. We are no longer making a mess in society as a result of our using. Sometimes the only way we can make amends is to contribute to society. Now we are helping ourselves and other addicts to recover. This is a tremendous amend to the whole community. I think that's important. There are people that are angry with us and with good reason, and they want nothing more than for us to have changed. To say, you know what, I'm not doing that anymore, not to you and not to anybody else. And they want to be rid of their anger. So when we come to them and make our amends, that gives them that space and permission to let go of the anger. Who wants to feel angry? Who wants to be carrying resentment? Who wants to think negatively of somebody? When your name pops up, they're like, that one. Nobody wants that. If you're mad at somebody, somebody's done you wrong. It's very hard to move on from that when you believe that person doesn't care because they clearly haven't done anything different. And that's what that paragraph means when it says it takes care of our guilt and their anger. In the process of our recovery, we are restored to sanity, and part of sanity is effectively relating to others. We less often view people as a threat to our security. Real security will replace the physical ache and mental confusion that we have experienced in the past. We approach those we have harmed with humility and patience. Many of our sincere well-wishers may be reluctant to accept our recovery as real. We must remember the pain that they have known. In time, many miracles will occur. Many of us who were separated from our families succeed in establishing relationships with them. Eventually, it becomes easier for them to accept the change in us. Clean time speaks for itself. Patience is an important part of our recovery. The reason why you don't make your amends early is because you have to prove to people that you're serious. Well, I quit drinking 2 weeks ago, so I'm sorry for everything I ever did. That's not going to get it. Nobody's going to forgive you. Nobody's going to go, oh, great. Well, you come over and carve it for Thanksgiving turkey. That's not going to happen. And you know it's not going to happen. Don't fool yourself. Stop trying to fool everybody else. The unconditional love we experience will rejuvenate our will to live, and each positive move on our part will be matched by an unexpected opportunity. A lot of courage and faith goes into making an amends, and a lot of spiritual growth results. We are achieving freedom from the wreckage of our past. We will want to keep our house in order by practicing a continuous personal inventory in step 10. So that'll be the next video. Keep in mind, however long you were selfish, self-centered, self-seeking, me, my, it's just like losing weight. It will take you twice as long to lose the weight as it took you to put the weight on. So if you were ripping and running and stealing and lying and manipulating for 10 years, it might take 20 to convince the people in your life that that's not going to happen anymore. I knew a guy one time, and this guy was awesome. He was big in the recovery community. And I don't mean like famous. I mean like he's steady. He was doing meetings. He was sponsoring people. He worked in treatment. He was a good guy and he helped a lot of people. And his whole family had re-embraced him. He had went from being a homeless heroin addict to spending all of his time and effort in helping other people. And everybody in his family was like, oh, you're doing so great, la, la, la. 10 years in, his own brother was like, yeah, believe it when I see it. You've been seeing it for 10 years. The possibility that there are going to be people that just will not allow themselves to allow you back in. We have to be okay with that. We did that. You always hope and pray that people will come around. They will or they won't. You can't let that hold you back. And you can't let fear of that stop you from moving forward. We don't recover to be miserable. We want to be rid of guilt and shame. We want to be rid of feeling like we can't face the world. That's the whole reason why we do these steps. And if there's people in your life that you just can't get back in your life, you know what? Keep it pushing. Other people will come into your life. That's my experience. We're going to jump right on over to It Works How and Why on page 84 and get a little bit more instruction and direction than we get out of the basic text. Now that we are willing to make amends to all the people we've harmed, we put our willingness into action by working the ninth step. We're involved in a process that takes us from awareness of our wrongs and the conflicts they've caused to a growing freedom from those conflicts and toward the serenity we are seeking. This process has called on us to examine our lives, identify our character defects, and become aware of how we harmed others when we acted on those defects. Now, we must do everything we can to repair the harm we've caused. We have our 8th step list, and we know what we have to do. However, knowing and doing are two different things. We may have a perfectly good plan for making our amends, but when the moment arrives, find ourselves overwhelmed by fear and feel unable to go on. We may be afraid of how our amends will be received. We may be worried that someone will retaliate. Don't be scared. What's the worst that can happen? They don't forgive you? They already don't forgive you. They already don't want you around. They're going to not want you around more that you're sober? That's ridiculous. On the other hand, we may be harboring a secret hope that we will be excused from our responsibilities. We cannot base our willingness on the expectation that we won't actually have to make restitution. For each of our amends, every possibility exists, from being held fully accountable to being completely excused. We must be willing to follow through regardless of the potential outcome. You are ready to be forgiven. That doesn't mean the person you have harmed is ready to forgive. Once again, with the help of our higher power, we simply have to walk through our fear and go on. We must be courageous when we work this step. Though the prospect of making amends may frighten us, we turn to the God of our understanding for strength. Our higher power is with us as we make each of our amends. We rely on the presence of that power, no matter how scared we are about approaching the people we have harmed. We may hesitate, fearing other people won't accept us as readily as our fellow NA members have. However, we have found that recovering addicts don't hold a monopoly on kindness or forgiveness. Other people are capable of accepting us as we are and understanding our problems. But whether they are willing to accept us or not, we must go on with making our amends to them. The risk we take is sure to be rewarded with increased personal freedom. The spiritual principles of honesty and humility that we've learned in earlier steps are invaluable to us in the 9th step. We would never be able to approach the people to whom we owe amends in the spirit of humility if we hadn't been practicing these principles before now. The honest examination we use to write our inventory and make our admissions, the ego deflation brought about by our work in the 6th and 7th steps, and the realistic look at how we harmed others have all worked together to increase our humility and provide us with the motivation needed to work the 9th step. Our path has led us to humbly accept who we have been and who we are becoming, resulting in a sincere desire to make amends to all those we have harmed. Just like we talked about in the 4th step, everything is something from your past. It's something that has already happened, something you have survived. It may suck, and you might hate to think about it, and you don't want to admit it, and you don't want to talk about it. But the truth is, that's all in your head. Because in this moment in time, that's not what's happening. That is the same thing with the stuff on your 8th step. These things that you have done, you can't undo them. You can't go back and make a better past. You can't twinkle your nose and wish them away. So the only thing to do is to address it, face it, make your amends so that you can move on from it. You've got the one backpack that's full of your 4-step stuff, everything that's been done to you, and they're just rocks in your backpack. Those rocks weigh you down. So does the guilt and shame from the stuff that's on your 8th step. That's stuff that you have done. And with every amendment you make, you're taking a rock out of your backpack. And that's lighter and lighter. It's amazing and it's wonderful. This desire to make amends should be the primary motive for working the 9th step. Making amends isn't something we do simply because our program of recovery suggests it. To be certain our motives are based in spiritual principles, we find it helpful to reaffirm our decision to turn our will over to the care of the God of our understanding before making each of our amends. A power greater than ourselves will provide us with the guidance we need. We should not expect a pat on the back or praise for living in accordance with the principles of recovery. People may respond to our amends in many different ways. They may or may not appreciate our amends. The relationships we have with those people may get better or they may not. We may be thanked or we may be told, "It's about time you did this." We must let go of any expectations we have on how our amends will turn out and leave the results to the God of our understanding. It is very important that we do our absolute best to make amends. Once we have done that, however, our part is finished. We can't expect our amends to magically heal the hurt feelings of someone we have harmed. We may humbly ask for forgiveness, but if we don't receive it, we let that expectation go, knowing we have done our best. And that's key. This is not something you half-ass. This is not something you call somebody up and go, hey, remember when I stole $20 and kicked your dog and slept with your sister? Yeah, sorry. That's not going to get it. That is not to the best of your ability. That is not doing your best to fix. You stole $500 from somebody. You think that that's what the big deal is. So I gave them $500. They should forgive me. Not about that. It's about they trusted you. You betrayed their trust. Maybe they needed that $500 for something important. So not only were they out the money, whatever it was they were going to use that money for, they didn't get. It's always bigger. When you're making amends, you don't decide what those amends are. The person who you have harmed decides what it is that they need to get over whatever it is they have to get over. When we are making amends, we ask ourselves if we are doing this because we are truly sorry and have a genuine desire to make reparations for what we've done. If we answer yes to this question, we can be assured that we are approaching our amends in the true spirit of humility and love. Keeping our humility in focus, we ask for help from our sponsor. Whenever possible, we discuss each of our amends with our sponsor before we set out to make it. We tell our sponsor what we are making amends for, what we are planning to say, and what we intend to offer to set the situation right. What we intend to offer as amends should be appropriate to the harm we caused. For instance, if we borrowed money from someone and never paid it back, we don't merely apologize, we pay the money back. We talk directly to the person we harmed and amend exactly what we did wrong. When we make amends to those we have held a resentment against in the past, an attitude of humility is imperative. We don't want to go to someone intent on making amends and end up in a shouting match over who was injured more severely. When you were making amends with somebody that was on your doorstep, somebody that did you wrong, but you also had a part and you did them wrong too, when you're making your amends, you're not bringing up what they did wrong because it's not about them. That's for them to do. And it might happen. You might go and talk to somebody and say, listen, for my part in that, I'm sorry. And they might go, you know what, man, me too. And what can I do to make it up to you as well? You might call it square. I don't know. But yeah, you don't want to show up to somebody's house and go, yeah, but you, da 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 da, and then you, and then that's really not going to get it. You're not going to walk away from that encounter with the freedom and less guilt and shame, which is the whole point of making the amends. So they go right back on the list. Even though we are sure to have amends to make to people who have also harmed us, we must set aside our hurt feelings. Our responsibility is to make amends for what we have done wrong, not to force others to admit how they have wronged us. In our experience, making amends is a two-stage process. Not only do we make amends to the person we have harmed, we follow up on those amends with a serious change in our behavior. Like Jesus said, repent and sin no more. Not say you're sorry and go do the exact same thing you always did. We mend our fences and we mend our ways. For example, some of us may have destroyed someone's property while we were angry. When we make our amends, we not only apologize to the person and replace or repair the property, we back that up by repairing our attitudes. We amend our behavior, making a daily effort not to express our anger by damaging property anymore. Changing the way we live is a lifetime process and is perhaps the most significant amends we can make. Some of the people we have harmed, like our families or others we've been close to for a long time, have suffered for years. Amends of this nature can't be made in a 5-minute apology, no matter how heartfelt. Although our admission of wrong and an apology may be the starting point, We need to go on by making a concerned daily effort to stop hurting our loved ones. If we have neglected our families, we start spending time with them. If we have been thoughtless, always forgetting birthdays and anniversaries, we begin to be thoughtful instead, remembering those important events. If we have been inconsiderate, always wrapped up in what we wanted and needed, we now begin to be sensitive to the needs of others. Of course, we may not have an ongoing relationship with some of the people we have harmed. For instance, if we are divorced from a spouse with whom we had children, we may owe child support payments. Making such amends does not require that we rekindle an emotional relationship with our ex partner. Remembering that our obligations are more than financial, we can work out a mutually acceptable plan to fulfill those obligations to our children. Because the action we take in this step can have a profound impact on other people, we don't want to just carelessly step out and start making our amends without first discussing them in detail with our sponsor. Some of us have felt compelled to make our amends on an impulse, just to ease our own conscience. Listen, I can't tell you how many people, how many newcomers, brand new, you've had on step 1 and 2, talking about, oh, well, I'm going to make amends. I'm going to start just know what I already kind of made amends to that person. No, you haven't. No, you didn't. And don't do that. We usually end up doing more harm than good. Suppose that in our 4th step, we wrote about people we had secretly resented for years. Unbeknownst to those people, we had ridiculed, judged, and condemned them or otherwise defamed their character to others. Because all that character assassination was taking place behind those people's backs, do we now go to them and confess? Certainly not. The 9th step is not designed to clear our conscience at the expense of someone else. Our sponsor will help us find a way to make appropriate amends without causing additional harm. Though it seems obvious that we wouldn't make direct amends in a situation where we would injure someone, we may find that we have questions about how to make direct amends when the person to whom we owed them is deceased, impossible to find, or lives thousands of miles away. There are many ways to make effective direct amends without doing it in person. If someone to whom we owe amends is deceased, we may find it very effective to write a letter saying everything we would say if the person were still alive. Then perhaps we may read that letter to our sponsor. With my stepfather that had passed, I wrote a letter and I reconnected with my stepbrother. He and I had a really good long talk about his dad. And I was able to let him know how I understood my behavior growing up as a teenager and how harmful and selfish I had been and how much I really did appreciate his dad. So that was a way to make amends to my stepdad. It may be a noble desire to want to make amends in person to someone who lives thousands of miles away, but most of us lack the means to travel great distances solely for that purpose. In such situations, a telephone call or letter could serve the same purpose as an amends made in person. The people on our list who we can't find should remain on our list. An opportunity to make amends may present itself later on, even years later. In the meantime, we must remain willing to make those amends. Of course, we should never avoid making amends in person only because we are afraid of facing the person we have harmed. We make every effort to find the people we have harmed and make the best amends we can make. Choosing the best way to make amends requires careful consideration and time spent searching our conscience for what is right. Some of us have to face situations that can't be corrected. Our actions may have left permanent physical or emotional scars or even caused someone's death. We must somehow learn to live with such things. We live with indescribable remorse over such acts and wonder what we could possibly do to make amends. This is where we have no choice but to rely on our higher power. We may have difficulty in forgiving ourselves, but we can ask for forgiveness from our loving God. We sit down, become quiet in the presence of our higher power, and ask for guidance in what we should do. Many of us have found answers in dedicating our lives to helping other addicts and other forms of service to humanity. There are no easy answers for problems like these. We simply do the very best we can, relying on our sponsor and the God of our understanding for guidance. For many of us, the wreckage of our past includes such relatively minor things as outstanding arrest warrants for traffic violations, while others have committed crimes entailing very serious consequences. We may find ourselves in a dilemma over such issues. If we turn ourselves into the authorities, we may go to jail. If we don't, we may live in fear of being caught and sent to jail anyway. With the help of our sponsor and the God of our understanding, we are willing to do whatever it takes to maintain our recovery. We may also have to rely on legal advice before making such amends. Consulting a lawyer about these problems can be of great benefit. Especially troublesome financial amends may also require professional advice. Many of us have amassed debts at an alarming rate. We may owe financial amends that are beyond our means to pay in the foreseeable future. Some of us may owe bills that amount to more than we can conceivably earn in the next several years. Some of us rarely paid our rent, utility bills, or phone bills. We may have found it easier to uproot our lives and move rather than meet our financial obligations. Oh, that was me about 10, 20, 30 times over. When it comes to financial amends, okay, well, you're not trying to repair relationships there, right? But aren't you? Because if you've got stuff showing on your credit, you've got bills that went into collections, you've lost bank accounts, you rented the apartment, but you trashed it, you couldn't get your deposit back, that's going to affect you moving forward when you try to get more credit or you try to move into a nice place or you try to get a mortgage or a loan or a car, whatever it is, it follows you. So the best thing you could do is start getting it handled. And you might need to get a lawyer involved in that as well. Just as we do for all our amends, we discuss our financial amends with our sponsor first. Some of us have begun providing for our families since we've been in recovery. They are dependent on us for their food and shelter. We usually find that we have to budget our money very carefully in order to meet our current living expenses while paying as much as possible to our old debts. We may resolve such situations by contacting our creditors, explaining our situation, and expressing our desire to settle our debts. We agree on a reasonable plan for paying off our debts and we stick to it. This is an example of how living our amends is a process rather than a once and for all occurrence. It takes great discipline, personal sacrifice, and commitment to continue to pay a bill for years and years, but we can regain our self-respect only by following through. That is so true. When I got out of rehab, I had been in there for months. My bank account was overdrawn. Everything was months behind. I called the bank. They were going to close my account. I've had this account for years. I've been in rehab. I know that I'm behind. What can I do? And I did that with different things that I owed money to. When I let them know that I was an addict and I was now in recovery and I had just got out of rehab and what could I do? Almost every single one of them worked with me, no problem. Once I started working and not doing drugs and not drinking and not giving all my money to the dope man, it was amazing how quickly my life just kind of fell back into place. It's amazing. Because I was honest about it, they come out the woodwork to help me. You are truly going to be surprised at how easy making amends really is. People are almost as scared of this as they were of doing their 4-step. But I think the reason you don't hear about the 8-step. You only hear everybody talk about the 4-step. Because by the time you've got through your 4-step and you're facing your 8th and 9th step, you're like, oh, I got this. Because the 4-step was nowhere near as bad as you thought it was going to be. So the idea that the 8th and 9th step are hard, they're hard. It's not the easiest thing in the world. It's not near as bad as what you make it out in your head to be. By the time you've got this far, you've already experienced that with 4 steps. So you're not near as scared this time. Hopefully that's your experience. It was my experience. It's the experience of most everybody that I talk to. Ask your sponsor if you're in the rooms. Talk to people in the meetings that have already got this far and see what they have to say about it. See what their experience is and get some strength and hope from that. It's really not that bad. People do care. As long as they can see that you're doing something different this time, people will notice. They want to forgive you. They want to give you another chance. They want to see you succeed. People will surprise you if you give them a chance. Most of us find making amends for the damage we did in intimate relationships to be extremely uncomfortable. As we wrote our fourth step, we realized that we not only robbed ourselves of the chance for meaningful relationships, we also cause deep emotional wounds in our partners. Our fears of intimacy or commitment may have led us to be unfaithful to, or abandon the people who loved us. We were generally unavailable to those people. While there are times when we need to approach such people with our amends, there are other times when it is best to leave them alone so as not to reopen old wounds. Knowing the difference requires complete honesty on our part and open communication with our sponsor. Whether or not we make direct amends to the people we've harmed in relationships, we definitely need to change the way we behave in our relationships today. If we ran from intimacy before, we need to sit down and learn to communicate with our partners. We must become more considerate, sensitive, and attentive to the needs of others. Sometimes the only way we can make amends is to change the way we live. As discussed in the eighth step, we may owe amends to our community or society as a whole. Though this may seem to be an abstract concept, we must make concrete amends by changing our behavior. If we harm society, we start to make amends by becoming a productive member of society. We contribute. We look for ways to give, not take. Making amends is about repairing relationships, and that also does cover legal amends and financial amends. Because if you owe something to society, like maybe there's a warrant out for you and you don't handle that, that's a problem for all of society. If you are dipping and dodging and you're on the run, I'm not saying go down to your local police office and just, here I am, get a lawyer. I did this thing back when I was using. What can I do now? I'm in recovery and I'm not acting like that no more, but I want to take care of whatever I got to take care of. And you'll be surprised at what can be done. And it's usually not as bad as you've made it out in your head that it's going to be. I'm no lawyer. I'm not giving any kind of legal advice here, but I like to do this like I'm talking to a sponsee. And if you were my sponsee and I was your sponsor, this is the advice that I would give you. Talk to a lawyer, find out what your options are, let them get a hold of the prosecution and see what kind of deal you could get worked out before you just go waltzing yourself into the local county jail and say, here I am. Our recovery is also a way of making amends to ourselves. We treated ourselves horribly in our active addiction. The guilt and shame we felt each time we harmed another human being took quite a toll on our self-respect. Our addiction humiliated us in 1,000 different ways. Now, in recovery, we learn to treat ourselves in ways that demonstrate our self-respect. The most important results of the ninth step will be found within ourselves. This step teaches us a great deal about humility, love, selflessness, and forgiveness. We begin to heal from our addiction and no longer live with as many regrets. We grow spiritually and find that we are truly gaining a new level of freedom in our lives. Our past is just that, the past. We have put it behind us so that it no longer hovers on the edge of our thoughts, waiting for a chance to haunt our present. One of the most wonderful gifts we derive from working the ninth step is the knowledge that we are becoming better human beings. We realize how much we have changed because we are no longer doing the things for which we are making amends. We may not have realized how much we had changed in our recovery until now. The amends process drives home the knowledge that we are becoming truly different people. The extended nightmare of our addiction is finally beginning to fade in the dawning light of our recovery. Our humility increases as we face the people we have harmed. The impact of realizing how deeply our actions have affected other people shocks us out of our self-obsession. We begin to understand that other people have real feelings and that we are capable of hurting them if we are careless. We learn about being considerate to other people as we work this step, and what we learn is what we practice in our lives today. It becomes natural for us to think before we speak or act, keeping in mind that what we say or do is going to affect our friends, our families, and our fellow NA members. We approach people with love and kindness, carrying within ourselves a deep and abiding respect for the feelings of others. Because of the humility and the selflessness so necessary in making our amends, we may be surprised at the way Step 9 enhances our self esteem. One of the most paradoxical aspects of our recovery is that by thinking of ourselves less, we learn to love ourselves more. We may not have expected our spiritual journey to lead to a fresh appreciation of ourselves, but it does. Because of the love we extend to others, we realize our own value. We learn that what we contribute makes a difference, not just in NA, but in the world at large. As a result of working the ninth step, we are free to live in the present, able to enjoy each moment and experience gratitude for the gift of recovery. Memories of the past no longer hold us back and new possibilities appear. We are free to go in directions we never considered before. We are free to dream and to pursue the fulfillment of our dreams. Our lives stretch out before us like a limitless horizon. We may stumble from time to time, but the 10th step gives us the opportunity to pick ourselves up and keep walking forward. Our higher power has given us an invitation to live, and we accept it with gratitude. Let's try to live my life in such a way that I don't have to make amends, because making amends kind of sucks, right? You're going back to people that maybe are not even in your life anymore because you have just burned that bridge, just went scorched earth on your life. Not only did I burn the bridge, I done went and salted all the earth all around it so nothing will grow. Just bad, bad, bad. Let's just say it's a friend, somebody that maybe you were close to at one time and you burned them. Maybe they burned you too, whatever. We're not talking about them. We're talking about you. That friendship, it fell apart because of your actions or whatever it is you were doing, whatever falling out that you had with this person. When you're going to make direct amends, if you can do it face to face, that's always best. People tend to be more apt to forgive when they're face to face with you. It's a lot easier to go off on somebody and tell them all about themselves over a phone or a text. And, things get lost in translation in texting. So face to face is always going to be your number one choice. Timing and location. Maybe you invite them out to lunch to a public place where they can't go off on you. I'm going to tell you the speech that my sponsor told me. Okay. When I started doing this, I was about probably 8 months in recovery. I sat down with my sponsor and I prayed over every name for the people that I was going to have a conversation. The conversation that I was told to have, like I said before, it wasn't, well, I kicked your dog and I stole $20 and I missed your wedding and blah, blah, blah. They know what you did. They know what you did. And just like it says in the book, you don't want to open up old wounds. Let's assume that they've done whatever they need to do to be at peace with whatever it is you did. And they're all about being forgiving and they're all about letting it go and they're willing to hear you out. But when you say, kicked your dog and slept with your sister, that just brings it all back up. So that's not what you say. What you say is, I just want to talk to you because I would like to somehow repair our relationship. I missed having you in my life. I'm sober now. And I've been sober for however long you've been sober. For me at the time, it was 8 months. I've been sober for 8 months. I went to detox. I went to rehab. I'm working with a sponsor. I'm working the AA program. I'm working my way through my steps. I go to meetings 4 times a week. It's very important for me in my recovery to not have anything on me. And I know that it's because of things that I said and did that our relationship fell apart. And I am really sorry about that. And is there anything that I can do to repair this relationship? And then you shut up and you let that person respond and tell you what it is you can do. I'm going to tell you this. 98% of the people told me, you don't owe me anything. I'm so glad that you're in recovery. I'm so glad that you're not killing yourself anymore. All I need you to do is stay clean. That's what I need. I love you, and I'm so glad to see you clean, and I never thought I'd see the day, and you don't owe me anything. Just stay clean. Just keep doing what you do. About 1% of the people told me, too little, too late. There's nothing you can do. That bridge is burned. That earth is scorched. Don't care. Don't want to know you. Peace out. I need you to F off. My response to that, I understand. Here's my number. If you ever change your mind, please call me. And then I effed off. Keep it pushing. That's when the book talks about do it to the best of your ability. Listen, I'm here. This is what I got. I'm really sorry. This is what I'm doing now that's different. They were not ready to forgive me. They still didn't want no part of me. Okay. Well, if that changes, I'm here. Let me know. And then I kept it pushing. It's a boyfriend who had cheated on me. So this is somebody that I had no desire to repair a relationship with. That wasn't necessary. We ain't got to be friends. You ain't never got to talk to me. However, we had a lot of mutual friends. And we live in a small area where it was not out of the realm that I might just run into him. So I made the call. I think he probably had the same realization, like, yeah, you know what? Maybe it's just better if I don't have somebody in my life that's a problem. So we had a conversation. His answer was, well, I'm glad you're doing great. And we never need to talk ever again, which I absolutely agreed with. Because, yes, he cheated on me, sure did. I was no angel. I never cheated on him. However, that doesn't mean that I wasn't a nasty bitch at times. One person outside of financial and legal stuff, my best friend, Michaela, had lent me her laptop. And I had lied to her and told her that my probation officer had took it because I wasn't allowed to have a laptop. That was not true. The truth was I sold it for drugs. This was the hardest call for me to make, y'all. And she said to me, I love you. I forgive you. Just stay clean. Keep doing what you're doing. But I'm going to need my laptop back. It took me a while because at the time it was a top of the line laptop. So here's what I mean by you don't just take up $500, say like, hey, man, it's $500. No, because years later, that same laptop was practically useless. So for me to replace her laptop, I had to save up and send her what was at that time a good top of the line laptop. Thank you, Black Friday sales. But yeah, so of all the people, decades of me burning bridges and being manipulative and selfish and self-seeking and self-centered and me, and my, and I'm a victim, all that behavior, the only actual thing that I had to do was come up with a laptop. Not so bad. That's just a couple examples. Now that's my experience. I can't tell you what your people are going to say to you when you go to them, but my point is it's not nearly ever as bad as you think it's going to be. I grew up, one of the first things that I learned was how to keep a secret. I did not have a nice soft childhood. I did not have a nice soft adulthood. And I've never felt so free in all my life as when I recovered, when I feel like I'm not a slave to this addiction and I'm not on probation and I'm not in prison. I'm truly, truly free. And I am free from ridiculous gossip. There's nothing that you can say to me or about me that's really going to bother me and get me ruffled because I made my amends. Because I have done to the best of my ability. I have got with everybody I can get with, and I have said what needs to be said, whether they forgive me or not, whether I have a relationship with that person or not. I've done what I could do. I hold my head high. Most importantly, living my life in such a way that the negative feelings and emotions that I created in other people, I don't do that anymore. I'm not selfish. I don't lie. I don't steal. I am considerate. I am kind. And by being that way, I don't create these feelings in another person that I might have to go and make amends for. And that's my experience. And I hope that that gives you strength and hope. As always, like, share, subscribe, Leave me a comment. Love everybody. Let God sort them out. Keep coming back. We're going to keep coming back. Bye.